Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to explore new worlds.
Well, this time we're heading into the world of Arundhati Roy's The God of Small Things.
Ah, a classic, full of richness and complexity.
Exactly. And you all sent in some fascinating excerpts from the chapter titled The Pessimist and the Optimist.
Oh, that's a pivotal one. Lots to unpack there.
For sure. So I'm thinking we're all ready to delve into some serious family dynamics, maybe a bit of cultural clash too, and see how those individual choices can really impact a family story.
You hit the nail on the head. What I find so captivating is how Roy uses just this one chapter to give us a glimpse into decades of this family's history.
It's like she's laying the groundwork for the tragedy that we know is coming, right?
Right. But it's not just about the tragedy, it's the journey, the love, the loss, the way those cultural forces you mentioned play out.
It's all woven together so beautifully, and yeah, it's definitely heartbreaking too. So let's get into it. To really grasp the complexity of this family, we've got to start with one of the most prominent figures, Chacko.
Okay, Chacko, the rebellious intellectual.
Yes. And in your excerpts, you all highlighted how Roy paints such a vivid picture of him. He's brilliant, accomplished, but then there's this messy, almost contradictory side to him.
It's like his physical space reflects his internal struggles, wouldn't you say?
Totally. Roy describes his room as Baroque bedlam.
Exactly. And remember, he's an Oxford-educated Marxist. Those principles of equality, social justice.
Yet his own life seems to clash with those ideals, especially considering the expectations placed on him as the son of a wealthy family in India.
It's like he's constantly pushing against something, but we're not quite sure what yet.
We get these glimpses into his past, rowing for Belial, being so well kept initially, and then there's this shift, almost like he embraces this untidiness.
Deliberate untidiness, you might even say.
It's fascinating, right? And I feel like that need to rebel, to break free from expectations, it kind of sets the stage for how he meets his wife, Margaret Kochamma.
Ah, yes, Margaret.
Yeah.
That scene in the Oxford Cafe, not your typical love story beginning.
Right. The tale of the optimist and the pessimist.
What's so brilliant is how Roy describes Chacko telling this simple joke. But the way he tells it, so meticulous with every action, picking strawberries from the jam, cutting his toast into perfect squares.
It's like a performance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what she's trying to tell us about him through those small gestures.
Like he's trying to impress Margaret, but there's this sense that maybe he's also playing a role. Maybe even hiding his true self a bit.
I think you're onto something there.
And then there's Margaret's reaction. This prim and proper waitress, probably used to a very structured life.
And she's completely captivated by him.
Drawn to his chaotic charm. I love that detail about her being surprised by her own laughter.
It's like a crack in that carefully constructed facade, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Almost a yearning for something more, something outside her usual routine.
It's that classic opposites attract scenario. Margaret representing order and tradition, and then Chacko, this whirlwind of intellectualism and rebellion.
Such a great point. But of course, as we know from the excerpts, this marriage doesn't have a fairy tale ending.
Not quite, and I think part of that stems from their very different expectations and desires.
Oh, absolutely. Despite his outward rebellion, Chacko is still deeply tied to his family, especially his mother, Mammachi.
He seems to crave her adoration, yet resents that dependence at the same time.
Such a complex dynamic. It's like this internal conflict fuels a lot of his self-destructive behavior.
Which of course has a ripple effect on those around him, especially Mammachi.
All right. And on the other hand, we have Margaret, who seems drawn to a more stable and secure life, something she finds with Joe.
And it's worth noting that her decision to leave Chacko would have been considered quite radical for a woman in her position at that time.
Oh, absolutely.
She chooses her own well-being and that of her daughter, Sophie over those societal expectations.
That's a crucial point. It speaks to her inner strength and also, I think, foreshadows the difficult choices that other characters will face as the story unfolds.
Good point. So then we have Chacko returning to India, a changed man, not just emotionally, but physically too.
He's carrying the weight of his failed marriage, the expectations of his family, no longer that charming Oxford scholar.
And then into this already complex situation, Margaret arrives with Sophie, a child of a mixed marriage. It's almost like throwing a match onto a pile of kindling.
A perfect analogy. It's not just a family reunion. It's this collision of cultures, past hurts, unspoken tensions.
And secrets simmering just beneath the surface.
And then Sophie arrives, adding another layer of complexity, disrupting the already fragile balance of this family. It really sets the stage for the tragic events that are about to unfold.
Oh, it does. And I think that's a good place to pause for now. But trust me, we're just getting started. There's so much more to unravel in this family story.
Absolutely. So much more to discover about Chacko, Margaret, the twins, and of course, what leads to the tragic events that change everything.
So join us for part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll delve into the events leading up to Sophie Mull's death and explore how societal norms, prejudices, and misunderstandings play a crucial role in this unfolding tragedy.
And we'll also discuss those key characters you've highlighted in your notes, like Velutha, Philia Poppin, and the ever-so-complex baby Kochamma.
It's gonna get intense, so make sure you come back for part 2. You won't want to miss it.
It's in this charged atmosphere, right, that we really see things start to unravel for this family. You pointed out in your notes how Roy hints at what leads to Sophie Mull's death.
Yeah, it's subtle, but man, it's powerful how she brings in those social norms and the prejudices and then just all those misunderstandings.
Yeah, and I think to really get this tragedy, we have to remember the historical context, careless society, especially with the caste system.
Oh yeah, the caste system plays a huge role here.
It does. And so Velutha being a paravan, that puts him at the bottom of this very rigid social structure.
Which makes his relationship with Amu, a Syrian Christian from a well-off family, totally taboo.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's like their love story. It directly challenges the whole social order. And the consequences, they're devastating.
They really are. And it seems like Velutha's father, Velia Poppin, he plays a part in exposing this whole affair. But his motives, man, they're not simple.
Not at all. It's like he's torn. Loyal to Mammachi's family on the one hand, but then there's his duty to his son.
So he's caught in the middle.
Roy doesn't give us easy answers here. Velia Poppin, he's complicated. He feels this debt to Mammachi's family, right? For their kindness in the past.
Even though that kindness, it's all filtered through this lens of the caste system.
Exactly. So, yeah, there's this underlying resentment, too, for how unequal things are. Remember that detail about his eye?
Oh, yeah, the one working eye, wow.
This constant reminder, a symbol of how his place in society has shaped his whole life.
Chilling. And then you've got baby Kochamma, Chacko's aunt, right? She seems to manipulate this whole situation. Like, she sees this as her chance to take control.
Oh, baby Kochamma is a fascinating character. She knows how the family works, how society works, and she sees Velutha as a threat. Not just to Amu, but to everything she believes in.
That rigid social order.
Right. It's a mix of personal stuff, wanting to protect the family status, and then deep down, that belief that her caste is superior.
It's a scary reminder of how social structures, prejudices can really twist how we see things and lead to terrible, terrible consequences.
No doubt. Roy shows us how these forces create this hierarchy, this fear and misunderstanding, and then it explodes into violence. Just heartbreaking.
And the rain, the way she describes it, it's like a mirror of what's going on inside the family, that relentless downpour.
More than just weather, right? The rain, it's this symbol of the chaos that's coming. The storm inside the Yemen house.
Yeah, it really amps up the tension. And that scene where they confront Velutha, man, you can feel everything building. Mammachi's rage, baby Kochamma so cold and calculating, and poor Kochamma right in the middle of it.
Like a carefully planned downfall. Baby Kochamma, she knows the law, knows how to manipulate people, and she uses it all. Uses those social norms, those prejudices, to make sure the story goes her way.
And the fact that Chacko and Margaret are gone, off in Cochin, it adds another layer of tragedy.
Absolutely crucial to how it all plays out. If they were there, who knows? But they're not. So baby Kochamma, she's free to do what she wants.
By the time they come back, it's too late. The damage is done. Think about Sophie Mull. She's so excited to meet her cousins, experience this new world, and then her life's cut short. Because of adults, because of prejudice and fear. It's just
heartbreaking. And Roy's description of Sophie Mull's body, a spongy mermaid who had forgotten how to swim, beautiful and haunting at the same time.
It is. It highlights that innocence lost, that life is fragile, especially when social forces can be so unforgiving. And then we see Margaret, the tranquilizers, the grief, the blame on Esta. She can't deal with the enormity of what's happened. It's raw.
It is. And you picked up on something really interesting. Roy never explicitly says why Margaret blames Esta. But there were those little hints, you know. Esta, he's sensitive, he sees things, maybe understands more than he lets on.
Maybe Margaret, in her grief, she senses that and latches onto him as a way to deal with her pain, her guilt.
It speaks to Roy's skill as a writer. She leaves space for us to figure things out on our own. That's what makes this story so powerful.
It does. And then there's this realization, Despite everything that happened, no one remembers Velutha. Like, he's been erased.
It's chilling how those in power can silence voices, erase whole narratives, just to keep control.
Mm-hmm.
And Velutha, he leaves no footprints in sand, no ripples in water, no image in mirrors. It speaks volumes.
It does, like the stories of so many people who are marginalized, overlooked and forgotten.
When Roy calls him the god of loss, the god of small things, it's so powerful. His story, it represents those who are marginalized, oppressed, the stories we often disregard or forget.
And yet, it haunts the family.
Exactly. It shapes their destinies even though he's unseen. Even in silence, there's this profound impact. That's what Roy's showing us.
We're left with this feeling of loss, right? Not just for Sophie Mall, but for everyone whose lives were changed that night.
The tragedy, it spreads out, touches everyone. And it reminds us about prejudice, about societal pressures, and how messy human relationships can be. This chapter is like a mini version of all the big themes Roy explores. Family, social expectations, the legacy of loss and trauma.
And it's striking, how Roy shifts the focus to the children after Sophie Mall's death. Esta and Rahel.
Yeah, like the adults, they're so wrapped up in their own grief and guilt, they completely miss how this affects the kids.
It's like the kids are almost invisible.
It's really a commentary on how children, they become the collateral damage, right, in all these adult conflicts.
Left to deal with this trauma, but they don't have the tools to understand it.
Exactly. Margaret, she's directing her anger at Esta, but Rahel, she's carrying this silent grief. It's heartbreaking.
And that phrase, the loss of Sophie Mall grew robust and alive, that really got to me.
Oh, powerful stuff. It's like the tragedy, it takes on a life of its own.
Yeah.
Becomes this presence that hangs over everything.
Overshadows everything. It's like this defining narrative for the family.
It's almost like the tragedy itself becomes another character in the story, shaping everyone's choices, their destinies, and it brings us back to that idea of perspective, right?
Right. How each person sees these events, it shapes how they understand the tragedy, and it shapes what they do next.
Makes sense.
Like baby Kochamma.
Yeah.
With her beliefs or prejudices, she sees Velutha as the bad guy, the cause of everything.
And her view, it's shaped by society, right?
Yeah.
That becomes the story everyone believes. It affects beliefs, everything. Velutha never had a chance.
It's how those in power can manipulate things, silence other voices. It happens all the time. But it's not just baby Kochamma, is it?
No, it's not. You have Mammachi. Her grief, the societal pressure, she can't see the truth about Amu and Velutha.
She can't accept Amu's love because of what society says. And it creates this huge rift between them, just makes the tragedy even worse.
It does. It shows the limits of Mammachi's worldview. A worldview shaped by years of societal conditioning.
Yeah, how powerful those norms can be, especially about class, about caste, even within a family.
Exactly. And then you have Velutha at the heart of it all. But he leaves no footprints in sand, no ripples in water, no image in mirrors.
Erased, almost like a ghost.
That's the real tragedy. Velutha, he represents those who are invisible to society. He becomes a victim, not just of prejudice, but of a whole system, a system designed to silence anyone who challenges it.
It makes you think about whose stories get told and whose stories get silenced. It's a powerful message.
It is. And Roy's choice of words, it's deliberate. She wants us to remember that. To recognize those marginalized voices, challenge the stories we're told, to see the world from different perspectives.
Wow. This deep dive into the pessimist and the optimist, it's been intense. I mean, Roy packs so much into one chapter. It's incredible. It sets up the whole novel, right?
It does. Makes you think about family, about love and loss, about how unfair society can be, all these big questions.
And it makes you think about your own life, your own relationships, how the past is always there shaping the present. The echoes of this tragedy, they're going to keep going right through the rest of the book.
I think so. It'll be interesting to see how Roy handles these themes, how she brings us to some kind of resolution, if there even is one. But as you keep reading, keep those questions in mind, those uncomfortable truths that Roy brings up.
About justice, about memory, about the stories we choose to tell, and the ones we choose to forget. It's a lot to take in.
It is, but that's the power of a great book like this. It stays with you. It makes you think. So what are you going to take away from this deep dive? What questions are you going to carry with you?
Those are great questions for all of us to consider as we keep exploring the God of small things. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep searching for those hidden truths that are all around us.